My name is Brittney Olsen from 20th Century Racing. We're here at my mentor Jim's secret Indian racing laboratory. When I first started racing board trackers, I knew that Jim was the guy to beat on the half mile. Davenport, for many years, I think when I first met him, it was 10 years consecutive half mile antique race champion at Davenport. And if you were running Davenport, that was the best of the best board track racers in the country. And he's out there on a 28 Indian Chief and nobody can keep up with him. And he is just the guy to beat. So with my racing experience, what do? You go to the guy who's the best and you ask him if you can train. I didn't realize the bike that Jim had until he put me on it in 2016. And it was almost like everybody else was standing still. And I'm on his 28 Chief and I'm just walking around him. My inspiration for really wanting to build Indian and work with Indian and have, a fleet of Indian race bikes myself stems from Jim, seeing how fast he can go and his performance, knowing the history of like Bobby Hill and the Wrecking Crew and Bill Tooman. And, these guys, they had these fast bikes. I mean, who isn't inspired by Burt Monroe either? I mean, world's fastest Indian. So you have all these like goosebump like moments. And that's where I really became inspired to start an Indian race team with 20th Century Racing. So I'm going to take you back to a moment in my life where old motorcycles just seemed unobtainable. I have a corporate job, I'm working in a cubicle, but then I stumble upon the Salvage Yards blog, right? And I start witnessing all of these iconic like rock star images. And then you get to like the motorcycling images and my mind is being blown because I'm seeing women who are racing and having fun and they're with their like girl gang and their posse and they're riding and it appears to be Southern California, but I don't know anything about these photos. I don't know anything about these women. I don't know who took these photos. So I start researching more about the photos, more about the women, finding out that they're unpublished Life magazine photos taken by Loma Steen and that the gal's name is Cecilia Adams. That's about all I can find about it. I don't even know what the bike is. All I know is that this is badass. And if they did it 60 years before me, I can do it. And immediately I'm like, I love this little bobber. I love this style. I love it looks custom. Cecilia Adams and her Indian motorcycle, along with her entire girl gang that were shot with her by Loma Steen, it blew the doors open for me. So the configuration of Cecilia's bike when she had the photos taken by Loma Steen was, I would say, like a Norton front end. It had a side suspension, side springs, and then it also had a Vard experimental rear section setup. You have to understand, she thrashed on this bike. This wasn't just her, cruiser bike or her street bike. This was her race bike, and she raced in many different contests and competitions with this bike. So sometime in the 50s, it got a new paint job, which Wes White had told me. One guy said it was the first candy apple paint job he saw in Southern California was Cecilia Adams' bike. And they changed the rear suspension and then they changed the front suspension. And the big noticeable difference is the front end is more of like a telescoping front end now, and that would have been such an improvement. So if you're thinking these racers are racing these as they're like new, they're modern machines and they're constantly improving them to have better components. This telescoping front end would have been a huge upgrade compared to the Norton front end she had before. However, she is seen in multiple photos with the new configuration. Now, it has not changed other than getting a sticker and a number plate on it. But sometime in the 90s, Mike Party got it from Lucille, who was her best friend, under one condition, that he never changed the bike and that he always keep it preserved as Cecilia's Sport Scout, Cecilia's race bike. And he did that for the rest of his life until it exchanged hands from him to Wes White, who was also another really good friend of Mike's. And Wes had the same stipulation that Mike had gotten. He cannot change it. And, fast forward to working with Indian and doing their Forge series and building a Scout for them and being so heavily influenced my personal Indian story and wanting to, build a Sport Scout, customize it, build these Indian racing chiefs, the credit is really owed to Cecilia taking those photos and Lumacine taking them and then having them. And you can imagine going so many years unpublished. If they were to have published it, would we have more women riders now? When I had the opportunity to call Wes and ask about, I just wanted to know if he still had it, I just wanted to know if it was still out there. And he did. And so to ask, hey, like, I just sold my new Indian Chief, can I really buy Cecilia's bike? And we came up with an arrangement, and he allowed me to purchase it. Mike, with his motorcycle collection, every bike had a binder. And this is Mike Party's Cecilia Adams binder, which is, it's in itself, it has so much value just coming from Mike Party, but also coming with the bike. It's phenomenal. He did a great job. Cecilia Adams' motorcycle really inspired my personal build for Indian Motorcycle's new Sport Scout when I built the bike for Nikki Lane. And to see how much fun Cecilia had with her friends riding, and when Nikki Lane and I were riding new and old Sport Scout, it felt just like we were in Griffith Park taking those pictures. Albeit we were in Nashville, it had this same vibe, and it was so cool. I get goosebumps still, even now talking about it. This whole girl gang movement that Cecilia really amped up in the 40s, it's still running strong today in the Indian motorcycle community. From my first ride on Jim's 1928 Indian Chief board tracker to being one of the first to ride Indian's new Chief vintage motorcycle, I love the power that both of them have. And when you have the opportunity to ride an old Chief, and it has no brakes, no clutch, no transmission, so you are solely feeling just the sheer motor and power to the rear wheel. From the race bike aspect to the old Chiefs that I ride on the road, to being one of the first to ride the new Chief vintage, I feel like I want to go get one. You know how hard it is for me to say, oh yeah, I want a new Indian. Aesthetically, it's like, it's a new bike. But this bike, aesthetically, power, and to have all the technology that it has on it, it's a knockout bike. It's very rare to hear me say I want a new bike. It's great, decades later, to be still able to ride Cecilia's bike, to be riding it in Griffith Park, and to really be part of Indian's 125th anniversary celebration. This whole year is a year to celebrate, and I think it's a year to celebrate for being a woman in motorcycling, because Indian is still supporting women riders for well over a century. My name is Brittney Olsen, and I ride Indian motorcycles.